And if we loaded the frog, we wouldn't have these problems. This horse was shod by a very well-known farrier. He's doing his job. I have no problem with farriers themselves as people. I have no issue. It's a great dedication. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of driving around. I have the greatest respect for them. But the theory that's behind what they're taught is what I have the issue with, because it's backwards. It's going from the outside in when it really has to come from the inside out. So this mare's frog, if you look at the difference between the size of her frog and the size of, say, my thoroughbreds, which is down here, right here. Okay, you get this huge, it takes up 2/3 of the foot. And here's her frog. Not only is it tiny and narrow, but it's also displaced out behind the shoe. Here's the back of her weight bearing, and then her heel bulb is way up here. So from the side, if you look at it, her heel is starting to collapse out over the back of the shoe. Here's the back of her shoe, her weight bearing, and then the back of her heel is way back here. So you've got that lever action going on, and what happens is it radiates right up. She's a big girl. Her knees at the age of 8 are already starting to bother her. She's starting to have stifle issues because she's trying to pull that weight off her front end. She can't get her to hold the right lead because this foot is giving her major issues when you land on that one foot. Horses at a canter load that foot with 3 times their own weight. So that hurts. You're going to obviously, they're not stupid. They don't want to hurt. And so when a horse is unwilling to do something, always go back to, is there a physical issue? So if you've got that big wide open heel, you've got the frog involved, you've got correct alignment, you haven't got any flares. I think I've got a good couple of pictures over here as well. This mare in the top right, she's a 21-year-old Morgan, who was a brood mare. She was shown down at Deerfield way back when. A lot of this is LOF disease, which I call lack of farrier disease. You always take a grain of salt when everyone tells you the history of their farrier commitment before you meet them. You know, being single owner and all that, life takes over. This horse grows a lot of foot. Morgans have got tremendous feet. I'm not breed specific usually, but Morgans and your Arabs just develop, standard breds, they have an automatically good genetic base for good feet. And so she's putting out hoof, probably could have been on a 3 or 4 week schedule, which is what she's on now. She abscessed continuously for almost 2 years. She carried babies on feet like this. I mean, it kills me when I think about what this mare's gone through. And because of that, her whole upper body, she's getting a lot of acupuncture and body work done because she is incredibly tight. I mean, you could have bounced a brick off her back and she would have flinched because she was so tight. So in taking out all the dead tissue from under that foot and finding her frog, which was under there, this picture here is actually the bottom of her foot. You can see that. I'll come down here. All this dead tissue, what was happening is as that hoof capsule got longer and longer, she was getting no support for her coffin bone underneath. So her body goes and automatically fills it in with kind of punky wood type hoof wall, and it's very ugly to look at, but it was doing a job. When you've got this shoe on, which is a different horse altogether, but this guy custom made this shoe, 1, to follow the flare in the long hoof wall, and 2, this heel bulb actually disconnected from the back of the foot, and he followed it right out. So not only is that heel trying to reach the ground, but now it's getting poked by a metal every time he lands on that. So the theory behind specialty shoeing and putting more nails in to try to heal something, just it goes against the natural function of how this hoof wants to work. So getting back to our mare here, I gave this lady, she was right in the middle of a clinic, and this is one of the biggest things that I run into is agenda. People don't want to stop their own agenda. They don't want to stop showing. They don't want to stop riding. They don't want to do anything until I'm ready to do this, and I hear that a lot. And it's like, okay, so your horse goes to bed every night on those feet, and when they're standing in a stall, it's 60-40 weight dispersal. You got 60% of the weight on front, 40 behind. Horses that are turned out, it's so much better because once they move, I mean, I don't know if you've tried to do piggyback rides on the ground with your kids, you can't weight your front end and move. You have to put your weight to the back end. So when they're out and they just look like they're meandering around, well, they're switching that weight off their front end, instead of standing in the stall for an average 10 to 14 hours, which is what usually happens in most boarding situations. So Told her to get this mare out as much as possible, even though she was in the middle of a full work schedule. Just doing that alone, even though she hadn't had the shoes off, helped her to unload that pressure that was building up in her feet. The farrier that she went back to did address the fact that her hoof is trying to escape out the back of the shoe. When you look at the bottom of a horse's foot, a healthy foot, the widest point should bisect the hoof 2/3 of the way down the frog. You should have 2/3 of that hoof behind that center line and only 1/3 out in front of it. That's the ideal. A lot of horses I get 3/4 of the way through their transition, we get about 50-50. And then it's a matter of getting them out and getting them moving more. But when you've got that difference, then the only time your horse is putting any weight on that toe is at the very end of their stride, when their weight's already come off of it. So you're not putting pressure on the front of that crossbone. This poor mare, because everything was all torqued out behind the shoe, her crossbone is literally encased in the middle of this shoe and getting no chance to get any circulation or pressure release under a big body. So it's when you understand the mechanics of how the barefoot works, that flexion, the automatic grip that they get when that frog comes down and that whole hoof expands. My thoroughbred runs like an idiot still in a big pasture. He raced for 7 years. He was gelded, and then they threw him into 100 jumpers. He was down in Florida at the hits doing 3-6 courses within 6 months. And he short fused and ended up at a rescue twice before I found him. And getting his feet straightened out was a challenge because I couldn't even tie him. But he's doing great now, and he's built a tremendous foot. But just in getting that hoof to function better, you'll find all your other behavior issues, your training issues. Horses really do want to please. You find very few, unless they've been really abused and had a lot of really bad experiences, that just don't want to do for you. If your horse is not motivated to move forward, then find out what's going on. If it's causing him pain to move forward, then you're going to continue to have that problem, whether you go to John Lyons or Pat Pirelli, or it doesn't matter who you go to for a trainer, you're going to have that issue with pain. So find out what's going on with your horse's feet. And this gal, as far as I know, has given her chance to take the shoes off over the winter time and get that toe back, because once you shorten up that toe, everything starts to slide backwards. This heel buttress area here will start to move back, the hoof will expand and allow it to come back inside the hoof capsule. This does not happen overnight. She's been in shoes probably since she was 3 or 4. So 5 years of being in shoes takes a while to reverse. Each farrier is different, each horse is different, each diet, each environment. It is such an incredible puzzle. I think that's why horse people like horses so much, because each one is so individual a situation. But they all function the same when it comes to feet. There's absolutely no difference. So you've got the tools in your power to give them the right environment, the right diet, and to either double check on the trim yourself or get someone out there who knows what they're talking about. At this point, I am so swamped. I'm doing consults with people. I'll do stuff online. I'll come out and meet with your farrier. We'll talk. I'm trying to get more farriers on board to open their minds to this new way of thinking. It's extremely hard. Being a woman at the track, I gave up because they would not even listen to me. And so it's been more in the private sector that I've been working, but I'm certainly willing to do that. And I've got 2 apprentices under my wing right now that won't be on board till probably summertime as far as actually trimming. But I'm all for helping an owner learn how to just back that toe off, put that Mustang roll on, talk with their own farrier, give you the tools and the technology and the words to use so you know what you're talking about. And they're going to have to start listening. That's something that I've realized over the last 3 years. Education is becoming more available for the regular horse person. You can go online and learn a ton of stuff. You can go down and take your own course. You don't have to go out and be a journeyman farrier for 30 years to understand there's something wrong and it needs to change. So that's where we're getting the resistance, because it's going to take a little bit of rethinking on people's minds, and we're going to have to demand a little better environment for our horses and save our land and save our hay fields. And any of your kids, tell them to get into agriculture. We need hay people. All the hay guys I know are over 60. We're not going to have them for very much longer, so we need to do that. But I've got information packets you can take with you. There's a ton of info in there. There's a page with all sorts of links. You'll be surfing for hours if you get really hooked on this. some point in the future, I'm hoping to get a hoof school going. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I'm still trying to finish the books I've got in the works. So there will be publications coming out. You can go online, and there's a ton of info out there. And just like, in chiropractic or anything, homeopathic medicine, you've got your extremists on both ends of the fence. Take it all in and then make your logical. Your horse obviously is going to be very honest with you. That's the cool part about a barefoot horse. He's going to tell you right away if this is going to work or not. But it is a rehabilitation for their whole body. So when you think about it, it does benefit their whole body to take the time to get it right now, especially if you've got a younger horse. So is there any specific questions that I didn't cover for anybody? Yes. Oh, okay. If you've got a horse question, whether it's foot related or not, my email is on the info packets. Go ahead and shoot it off to me. I see a lot of horses every month, and I love to exchange ideas with people as far as feeding and supplements and thrush remedies and everything. But it really is amazing once you get that hoof shape to work right, how all those things kind of disappear regardless of what you're working with. So that's